We know how you survive on the image. It's on records. You. Come on. Here in the live before. I don't like my TV.
Anan.
That's what I'm about. Let's put some minutes in the money. No miss.
Members of the press, good morning. Our sincerest apologies. Leadership is just finalizing the statement. They will hear in a few minutes. Some of them, as you can see, are on video. And our sincerest apologies for the delay. Apa kayak apa? Buku dikan. Apa kayak apa? No.
Ahí se cambia la parte. Just for 50.
Sai uma câmera para 45 degrees. Esse é 45 degrees.
Take your object from the side. Good morning.
Ada Zimbabwe wana mabanga. Baru kuona.
Bos anak-anak kan cuma kemana ada baru ini kita terus bawa main. Orang kas perang. Soalnya apa di sana? Soalnya apa di
put level 15. Just simple.
May I have the room? Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please, those who have their phones, can they be on silence so that we do not disturb the proceedings and the sensitive equipment that the journalists have. So I'll give you just a few seconds to just deal with your housekeeping issues. Thank you. Thank you all for coming at such short notice. I'm Jacob Mafumi, the spokesperson of the MDC. I will not take much of your time. I'll ask the Vice President to introduce the President, who is going to guide us through the proceedings.
No, thank you very much. You are all most welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this important occasions. But then, without wasting your time, let me ask the President to address. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press corps. Thank you for coming in your this large number. We are actually appreciating your coming. Without wasting a lot of time, we've also brought all the leaders of the standing committee who are here present. I'm not so sure if I'm going to really waste your time by introducing each and every one of them. It might not be necessary, but just to acknowledge the leaders who are here present, who have come, and also members of the National Executive who are also in our midst. We acknowledge you. We are not going to waste a lot of your time, but just to give a context to this very important meeting. This meeting and press briefing is to enable you to have a context of our take and perspectives we have on the political developments in the country. You are aware that certain statements have been made by some senior people within government, especially within the army and within the police, which statements we take seriously because they have a bearing on the stability of the country. They have a bearing on the integrity of those institutions. So we want to give you our perspective, because yesterday we met as a leadership, deliberated on these issues for almost 6 hours. And of course, after the meeting, we resolved that we're going to brief the nation on where we are, because we've seen it before. You know what used to happen with ZAP, what used to happen with Stole, what used to happen with Maningi, you know, and we just want to put things into context, because we are very clear of the trajectory that our colleagues from across the river would want to do. But we are ready for them. We are prepared for the West, because we knew it from the beginning that they would be offended by our defeating of them in an election, and they would not take it lightly. And we are beginning to see their reaction. And to walk us through, we are going to have Mr. Biti, the chairman. I understand Mr. Biti has to rush to court to be able to deal with this trial. The Secretary General of the party, Secretary General Douglas Monzora, is going to walk us through and read out the statement that captures the thinking of the party in terms of our take on the situation that is obtained in the country. After that, I'll also come back just to be able to understand if you have any questions that need clarification so that we clarify. But just to tell you that we are very motivated, encouraged by the kind of support we are getting from across the whole country. The people are with us, God is in it, and we are happy that victory is certain. No matter how you see the hardships, what you may see almost appearing as insurmountable, victory is knocking on the door, and we are ready for it, and we are going to provide leadership for the people of Zimbabwe to cross to Canaan, which is almost soon to come. Over to you, Secretary General.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome you to Harvest House. This is a statement by the leadership of the Movement for Democratic Change. It is a collective statement of the institution. The Movement for Democratic Change has been following the political, social, and economic developments in the country. Among other ills that it has noted is the suffering of the people of Zimbabwe. Our people continue to live in poverty and misery. There's shortage of drugs in the hospitals and other institutions. But that medicine that is found is being sold in the United States dollars that our people cannot afford. We have still the problems, the economic problems of shortage of money in the banks, as well as unemployment. Further, we have noted the events at the Commission of Inquiry led by former President of South Africa, Kgalema Motlanthe. And this is an inquiry into the notorious murder of innocent and unarmed civilians on the 1st of August, 2018. Given the clear constitutional provisions governing the deployment of armed forces, this commission of inquiry is largely unnecessary. The Constitution makes it clear that the person responsible for deploying armed forces is the president. So therefore, the answer lies in the office of the president. It is Mr. Mnangagwa who knows whether he deployed or not. And if he deployed, he knows the terms under which he deployed those people and whether or not they fulfilled his mandate. So the answer is squarely in his office. It also, however, we have heard the testimony of leaders of our key state institutions, which testimonies have exposed to the world the absolute disregard of the truth of their part. This is, however, common in corrupt, irresponsible, and unaccountable governance systems worldwide. It appears to us as a party that these leaders seem to have forgotten temporarily that these events took place in the full glare of the public and received comprehensive, fair, balanced, and uncompromised reporting from inter alia, the international media. Various media organizations took and aired live footages of the events as they unfolded. The brazen testimonies and the brazen lies by these officials therefore vindicate the MDC's position that we are in a dangerous situation of serious state capture. Historically, however, the MDC has been on record to show that indeed the Zimbabwean state is a captured state, characterized by the following: lack of accountability, disregard of constitutionalism and the rule of law, and the blatant use or abuse of state institutions. There is absolutely no transparency and total disregard of the people's rights. As a democratic party and a democratic movement, we owe to the Zimbabwean public, the region, and the international community in a duty to set the record straight. Because what is happening at the Commission of Inquiry is simple play acting. And unfortunately, this is play acting by a few people whom I'll name. the categories: state officials, ZANU-PF apparatchiks, the operatives within ZANU-PF, and some people who simply have a bone to chew against the MDC. So we have biased individuals giving testimony, so-called testimony, before the Commission of Inquiry. And what we have noticed is that the Commission of Inquiry is not even regarding rules of evidence in these hearings. For example, hearsay evidence, the evidence of what somebody heard from somebody else, is inadmissible. But the Commission of Inquiry is taking that evidence, all of it. They are taking all of it. Now, the MDC was formed pursuant to certain principles. And in this report, we want to explain to the people of Zimbabwe why the MDC did not take part in the Commission of Inquiry. We will explore the history of state-sponsored violence in our country. We will also explore the founding values and existential values of the MDC. And we will state to you the events, the objective narrative of the events of the 1st of August. We will explain to you, because we owe the public the duty of the obligation to act in good faith. We will explain to you the situation of the so-called vanguard. We will explain to the society the rights of the Zimbabwean people and our inability to sell out those rights as enshrined in the Constitution, and in particular Article 59, Section 59 of the Constitution. Now, why did the MDC not appear before the Commission of Inquiry? First of all, we received a letter at the beginning of the hearings that the MDC was supposed to make written submissions to the Commission of Inquiry, as opposed to oral submissions. Now, our view was that being asked to do written submissions was being asked to give evidence in private. We would have wanted to give oral evidence openly and be open to questioning by anybody who needed to do that. We wanted to give our evidence on camera, and we felt that the first thing, the first problem of the commission asking us only to do written submissions was unfair. Secondly, the Commission of Inquiry was basically unnecessary. As I've said, it is President Mnangagwa himself who is the first respondent in this matter. He is clothed with the powers to deploy armed forces. And as I've said before, he knows whether he deployed or not. And if he did not, then an inquiry was supposed to be made by his office on who did it. Third, there was a problem of the composition of the Commission of Inquiry. And in particular, I want to deal with two individuals, the two professors from the university. The first professor is Professor Love Momadu. We have absolutely nothing against him. We know that he was a presidential candidate in the election. And the people spoke in that regard. And as you know, the people spoke overwhelmingly in favor of our president. But that is not the problem that we have with Dr. Madugu or Professor Madugu. The problem with Professor Madugu is that immediately after the 1st of August shootings, Dr. Madugu was interviewed by the ZBC. And on camera, Dr. Madugu blamed the violence on the MDC. So he made his conclusion already. How can a person who has already made his conclusion, who has already made his judgment, be asked to investigate the matter? It is taking things upside down. What starts first are investigations, and a hearing, and a judgment. Professor Madugu made a judgment condemning the MDC, and in particular, casting aspersions against the people, the leadership of the MDC. So he was not a fair person. Professor Manyeruke was clearly linked with the ZANU-PF campaign, and in particular features in 1 or 2 election advertisements of ZANU-PF. She is a card-carrying official of ZANU-PF. And in particular, she expressed the opinion before her appointment about who caused the disturbances of the 1st of August. For that reason, it was irresponsible for us to appear before a committee with that composition. And they say at law, if a law be unjust, unfair, and unconscionable, responsible citizens have a positive duty to disobey it. The terms of the reference, which is another problem, of the commission were presumptive, and they sought to portray the action of the armed forces as having been justified. So they were presumptive. Now we want to go to the history of violence. For us to judge the situation, for us to judge the various people involved, we must look at the evidence, the historical evidence of these people. While we cannot judge President Mnangagwa by what he is going to do or what he is promising, because that will be unfair to him, we can certainly judge President Mnangagwa, Vice President Chiwenga, Vice President Mohadi by their history, and it is a fair judgment. We can therefore, in the same vein, judge ZANU-PF by its history. We can therefore judge the state apparatus by their history. It is common cause that in this country, after independence, we had Gukura Hundi. MDC was not there. We also know that in 1985, President Mugabe, Prime Minister then, issued the infamous statement, Gobora Ezigutswa, by which he described the political opponents as stumps in 1985. We also know that in the election that came after the Unity Accord, which was contested by the Zimbabwe Unity Movement, their organizing secretary and candidate for Gweru, Patrick Kombai, was shot, and was shot by state agents. We all know that. We also know that we in the MDC suffered a lot of casualties. Tichaona Chini, Talent Mabika, Godfrey Kauzani, Beta Chokuro Rama, Tondera Indira, all were murdered by the state. And as evidence, historical evidence shows, this was state-sponsored violence. We also know that our president here was battered at the airport in public by officers of the state. We also know the infamous attack on Morgan Changirai during a prayer meeting in Machipisa in Highfield. We also know that Itai Zamara disappeared. We also know of the attempts that have been made to abduct various officers of the MDC, including the chief officer himself. We all know that. Now, therefore, what is happening here is a question of deja vu. What happened before? We all know the murder of Gift Tandare and so on. Now, let's go to the events of the 1st of August 2018. What is common cause is that the police was present the night before. What is common cause is that armed groups, the state groups were moving around the street. What is common cause is that the military was deployed by whoever. What is common cause? What is clear and undisputed is that people were shot at. What is common cause is that the people who shot were seen on camera. What is common cause is that the MDC does not possess anything that can cause the injuries that happened. What is common cause is 6 innocent Zimbabweans were murdered in cold blood. And one graphic illustration of this sadism is the shooting of this woman in the middle of her bra through the back. There is no better cowardice, better illustration of cowardice than that. What is common cause is that there was a soldier who was shooting in the public. And what is common cause is that he adopted a kneeling posture. And what is common cause is that he certainly was not shooting at 45 degrees. This is what is common cause. What is common cause further is that the MDC in this house, in this headquarters, was involved in parallel voter tabulation our election agents as well as our members of the election directorate were busy tabulating the votes. We now know, and it is on record, that the state through the police came and confiscated the computers so as to disable us from parallel voter tabulation. Fortunately, we had a backup situation. What is common cause is that our staff was arrested, was tortured, and was detained without justification. What is common cause is that there was a predetermination to decimate the MDC. This is exactly what happened. And the international community was there, and everybody who cared to see was there. We want to go to the issue of the so-called vanguard. We want to draw your attention to the statements that we issued before the elections. In fact, the statements that were issued as far back as March 2018, disbanding the group called the Vanguard. And what is clear is that that group was disbanded, and what is clear is that it took no part on the events of 2018, 1st of August. We want to assure the people of Zimbabwe that we are law-abiding, and the principal aim of the MDC is to take over governmental power through peaceful, democratic, and constitutional means. We have always wanted to take power through elections. We have the numbers, we have the energy, we have everything to adopt other methods, including armed insurrection. It is a party that we did not take. MDC is not a party that wants to take power through arms. We have always emphasized on the need for free and fair elections throughout our history. Our founding values are that the MDC is a pro-poor party, and it's people-centered, and it is social democratic, non-racial and non-sexist. Our main values are democracy, freedom, fairness, justice, equality, and solidarity. Every time we go to elections, we promise the people of Zimbabwe what we want to do. We also have a constitution for the party to govern our internal processes. What is clear is that the MDC, even by the figures that ZEC did announce, which figures, as you know, we have clearly stated that they are fake, and we can demonstrate that they are fake. It is running, the MDC is running 28 out of 32 urban councils. So it is running basically the economic nerve of Zimbabwe. With that comes the responsibility. The MDC has a duty to act responsibly towards the people of Zimbabwe. And it is this duty that binds it. And it is acting responsibly and will not engage in armed insurrection. We have had demonstrations, MDC demonstrations, that everybody knows about. The first famous demonstration was the demonstration of the 14th of April 2016. This is the last demonstration that was led by our dear departed icon, Morgan Tsvangirai. Thousands of people roamed the streets of Harare, but no single tomato was stolen. No single shop was looted. No single person was beaten. We then had demonstrations in Bulawayo, well attended. We had demonstrations in Mutare, well attended. No single person was harmed. We had demonstrations in 2018 to push for electoral reforms in our country. In Harare, we had the highest turnout since independence in most of these demonstrations. Again, these demonstrations were peaceful. The demonstration that took place on the 1st of August was not a demonstration that was organized by the MDC. And a day before, at an interview, at a debate between the MDC and ZANU-PF, where I represented the MDC and Honorable Mangwana represented ZANU-PF, a question arose as to whether the people of Zimbabwe were going to demonstrate. And both of us warned ZEC that there may be spontaneous reaction of the people if ZEC delays announcing the presidential vote. because for the people of Zimbabwe, it will be a question of deja vu. We therefore implored on ZEG to timelessly release these results. And it appears to us that the spontaneous demonstration was in reaction to that delay. We want to state that for us, the freedoms of the people of Zimbabwe are not negotiable. One of these freedoms is the freedom to demonstrate peacefully under Section 59 of the Constitution. No one, and I repeat, no one, including the state, the military, or the police, can take away this right from us. For that reason, the MDC restates that it is going to pursue its struggle, the remaining phase of the struggle, through peaceful means. This includes peaceful demonstrations. Demonstrations are allowed by law. So when people are engaging in demonstrations, they are acting lawfully. And we wish that Minister Matema puts that in his head, that we are not going to demonstrate out of the benevolence of ZANU-PF. We are going to demonstrate because the people of Zimbabwe gave us that right. The people of Zimbabwe have that right. Yeah. We have listened to the testimonies before the Commission of Inquiry, ladies and gentlemen, and what is clear is that this is clearly choreographed. But whoever planned it is not as astute as some of us thought. Certainly, the evidence, for example, of Mr. Gabriel Chaiva. Who does not know Chaiva? Who does not know him? He was a member of this party and he left this party because he had lost a primary election. So for him, an election is unfair unless he wins it. Okay. He left our party because he lost the primary elections in Sunningdale. Yeah. And he went and joined the ZANU-PF, hoping, and as a ZANU-PF candidate, he again lost. For us to then have him as a witness to say that the soldiers shot in a particular way. No, thank you, Mr. Chaiva, because we can see for ourselves. We can see for ourselves, and we have eyes to see what that soldier is doing to our people. We listen to the evidence of Brigadier General Sanyatwe, and clearly you don't need a military expert to see the blatant lie in that testimony. That gun is not at 45 degrees. It is shooting. It is shooting at what? Why is that soldier, if this soldier is there to scare people, why is that soldier in a mask? You are only in a mask because you don't want to be known. So when a soldier or a policeman is dispersing a crowd without harming them, there is no reason to hide their faces. This person is hiding his face, and he is one of the two that are hiding their faces in that video. And why is that? We can put 2 and 2 together as the people of Zimbabwe. The evidence of the army commander, again, that is evidence that is clearly uninformative, and it is also apparently uninformed. What is clear, ladies and gentlemen, is that there is state capture in Zimbabwe. What is happening at the Commission of Inquiry is a situation where people are moving from the answer to the workings. For those who know mathematics, they are coming from the answer and then to the equation. Why do we say that? We say that because the Commission of Inquiry has not yet made its findings on who was responsible. It has not yet made its judgment on whether or not Nelson Chamisa incited anyone. It has not made its judgment on whether or not PT said anything. But we have seen the police. We have seen the police and the law enforcement agents now saying that they want somebody prosecuted. Now they are preempting the judgment of the Commission of Inquiry. How have they known what the judgment will be? For that reason, our President, Advocate Chamisa, refused to be an actor in a play he doesn't know. And we as MDC, we refuse to be actors in a play we don't know. This is clearly choreographed. In conclusion, The MDC would like to clearly state that it has no role to play in the commission, and will not be appearing before the commission, except of course if certain legal things are fulfilled. At this point in time, allow me to advise you, ladies and gentlemen, that we have received a few letters today. One letter was addressed to President Advocate Chamisa. The other letter was addressed to the Deputy Chairperson, Tendai Biti. And then the other one was addressed to Shadrack Mashaya Mombe. As you know, Mashaya Mombe was our candidate in Harare South. The other one was addressed to Vice President Komichi, Morgan Komichi, who the state always harasses in every election. So it's a question of deja vu in this case. The other one came to my office. I don't know why, but this is a letter relating to Mr. Jim Kunaga. Mr. Jim Kunaga is not a member of the MDC, but his letter was delivered to my office. I will return it to the commission. We want to, in these letters, the commission is inviting the people I've mentioned, including our president, to appear before it and answer to certain of the allegations that were said against him. We have responded to the commission in writing, making certain inquiries before we make our decision. And I want to say that the commission has got lawyers in it, and it knows what to do. And we are not there to lecture it. But we have written, and my office has written to the commission to seek certain clarifications before our president can go there. But without saying what we are requesting, what we are saying is that what happens to John must happen to Peter. If at all we think that there is discrimination, then we are not interested as a political party. Ladies and gentlemen, the People's Party is busy. Right now, our president is having thank you rallies. We must thank our people for having voted so bravely and historically in the election. And all hope is not lost. We will continue our struggle. And we know that victory is certain. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Secretary General, for that eloquent, lucid, vivid, powerful, articulated statement representing what we say as a party. I think it's self-explanatory, and we don't need to waste a lot of time. I think any further elucidation might not be of any use. Safe to say that he has stated a very clear point that we're extremely concerned with the attitude of the state institutions, particularly our army, particularly our police, that they view the MDC, a key national state actor, as an opponent. We do not seek to replace the army. We do not seek to replace the police. We do not seek to replace the CIO. We seek to replace those who are at the top, who are abusing these institutions, because that is what the Constitution asks us to do. So to call us a terrorist party, a terrorist organization, where have you seen a terrorist with a headquarters along the same road as the Parliament of Zimbabwe? Where have you seen a terrorist organization, and even ZEC, including ZANU-PF headquarters? Where have you seen a terrorist organization that would use placards to engage the government instead of using arms of war? We use placards because we believe in the democratic tools, such as demonstrations. Where have you seen a violent party that believes in rallies as a way of dealing with the government? We go to rallies because those are democratic tools. We are not like ISIS or Al-Shabaab or Boko Haram, who had headquarters in the mountains. We have our headquarters at this house because we believe in democracy. Because we believe that to remove a government that is not performing, we must go to an election. And we've won elections. They've refused to give in to the will of the people. And that's why we are in the situation we currently find ourselves in. So I just thought I needed to put into context the aspect that we are not a prohibited organization. We are represented in parliament. In fact, we are the government, the local government. We are the government in parliament. We are even the government in this country because we were voted by the people. And that has to be understood. That has to be understood because in as much as Mr. Mnangagwa is saying is the one who is declared, but we are there because for you to be declared, there has to be a contestant. The contestant is there. So we are part of the matrix of a government. And in that context, you can't try to bastardize or criminalize a party. This has happened before. It happened to Joshua Nkomo. It happened to Ndabaning Stole. It happened to even my brother in Christ, the Reverend Bishop Abu Mzorewa, who was arrested when he wanted to go to Israel to pray in 1982. The charges were drawn against him. So it's not something new. They've done it to President Tsvangirai. You know the Ben Manashe case. You know what they did. I think Mr. Monzora represented this guy, Mzorewa, you know, during that time. Now you see where we are. They are trying to do a Morgan Tsvangirai on Chamisa. It will not work. Even if they take us to jail, they cannot jail the wills of the people. Yes. Even if they arrest us, they will not be able to arrest the problems affecting this country. Because problems are not solved by vindictiveness. Problems are not solved by revenge. Problems are not solved by a way of wanting to pursue the path of vengeance. They have saged harvest house ever since this party was formed. 4 arms of war. The only arm they have found is the arm of love and peace. They've never found anything here. We believe in our open palms, not in all these things that they believe in. And we've said, look, even if it is going to take us a very long period of time, our visionary, Mr. Tsvangirai, said that we must always use democratic means even to fight undemocratic governments. And this is what we are pursuing. And we make no mistake. This whole thing, Chamisa has incited violence. How does giving an insight to a population amount to insight? Incitement of violence. How do you say that? You also want to say, because you contested and defeated me in an election, I must punish you. And if you look at all the witnesses, Mr. Monzo, not a single citizen had an issue against Mr. Chamisa.
Oh, yes.
But you would find that it is some in the state who are obviously working on a scripted, choreographed narrative to try and say, we want Mr. Chamisa to come. How does Matanga speak about incitement and then says, Mr. Chamisa is given a position, so we are waiting? Why should law enforcement be subject to some of those vicissitudes of political consideration? Why? But it shows you that there are issues to nudge me into a forced arrangement, into a forced marriage, into a rape. You know, I want love, I don't want rape. You know, and this is why we've said we want political dialogue in this country. Not this whole thing of trying to force us and do also. We've said to Mr. Mnangagwa, here are the issues. Let's resolve the issues that are on the table. And we've raised those 5 issues. We are ready anytime to engage anybody, including Mr. Mnangagwa, to resolve these issues. Because people are suffering. And we want answers. We have those answers. We have the answer sheet. They have the problems and the questions. And we want them to also be able to interact with us so that we articulate the way forward. So yes, we are very clear and we are ready for whatever eventuality. Some of us are ready for whatever is going to take us. Because you cannot defeat the truth. That you cannot replace the reality. The reality is that we have been given the mandate by the people. Yes. That's why you see our rallies across the whole country. They show one thing, that we are a people's party. And we shall remain so. We shall not betray the people. No amount of skullduggery, machinations, chicanery, or hallucinations are going to move us from the position that we've taken. So thank you very much, Secretary General. You provoked me to say something I didn't want to say. I must give you credit for that provocation, because it's a positive provocation. Thank you very much. So yes, any questions? We thought that we needed to give you our briefing on these things. I'm told, you said there's a letter that has come. I said, Secretary General, read it. I'm too charged to read that letter, so please read it and interpret it to me. So he read it to me. It's very clear that they are saying, Mr. Chamisa, your name has been mentioned, so we want to hear from you about your role that you played on the 1st of August. Can you imagine? I actually didn't know about the 1st of August event. I only heard about it from some other person who actually called me, and I will mention at the appropriate time. That's what I first knew about it. MDC does not organize those tiny little ad hoc demonstration. We are not an ad hoc party. We are not a red organization. We are an elephant organization.
Yeah.
When you organize things, we organize elephant things, elephant demonstration. Not these funny things that you say and we know what they did. Because under a drunken stupor, they start saying things, those people. Some person was saying to Mr. Komish, yeah, we're in charge of what happened on the 1st of August. We hijacked it. Huh? And you are in government. You want to tell us that you are clever than all of us. People saw what happened. Now, what they don't know is that we have a footage of whatever happened in the city. And we want that footage to be honored and respected. Thank you very much. Any questions? Yes.
My name is Tolis.
Tolis.
I just wanted to get a clarity from what he said his last line. He said that you have set some condition, and in his last line, he makes an innuendo to say if Jamisa is to appear before the commission, what happens to John ought also to happen to the other.
Wow.
Are you suggesting that probably you set a condition, say all those that have been named in the commission of inquiry, like the vice president, the president?
We are very clear. Those names that have been mentioned, whether by mistake, by malice, or by anything, in as much as we doubt and question the credibility of the commission, we still feel that if they are to be fair, what is good for the goose must be good for the gander. And they must be able to invite Mr. Mnangagwa, they must be able to invite Mr. Chiwenga, they must be able to invite Mr. Kemba Mohadi, they must be able, and that's why we have said there's folly in that kind of a commission. Because you can't invite Mnangagwa so that you report to him. Mnangagwa can't investigate himself. He has been implicated. Because if he has been asked to say he was written a letter but there was no instruction that came from him to say that let there be deployment or whatever, then he must actually come and explain that position. Because that is the most crucial matter. That is the nerve and the crux of the matter, as we say at law. And that is the matter that has to be questioned and interrogated. So yes, we would want to see also if Mnangagwa is going to go. If he's not going to go, then why should I go alone? We want everyone to go because I have nothing. I have clean hands. I have not done anything. In fact, you know, every statement I've said is all on record. All the rally and the beauty of it. During the campaign time, all the 87 rallies ahead and my movements were all under camera because we were doing a film which was called the Walk of Giants. So it's going to come and it records everything, including when I went into the toilet, when I left the toilet, when I went into the church, when I left the church, when I called a friend. So I don't know how they are going to survive this one. By God's providence, I have been protected and covered. So I don't know how they're going to do it, but we have evidence to show what I did. And what I did, instead of being thanked for really trying to manage peace in this country, you are being attacked for your magnanimity, for your generosity, for your pursuit of peace. I have never seen this. I'm actually shocked. The one who is kissing you are biting. So I hope I've answered your question. It's not the only one. They must also be able to be very explicit about what they're talking about. You can't just go because a name has been whispered in your ear that you want to see something. There must be, and we're not going to review the details because I think it's also prejudicial to the so-called commission. So we will not review the details. I think the SG has already given you the details. Any other question? Yes, my brother?
Yes, from the Zimbabwe Independent. Are you going to appear for the commission?
I'm sure that has been answered, my brother. I know you want my voice very, very much, but let me give it to you again. We have said we will only be able to appear subject to certain. In fact, this is our own benevolence. We've said we have no time for these kinds of shenanigans because we know that this is a choreographed. They are working from a conclusion. Once you start to say, we want to know what necessitated the use of violence, you're already saying that it was necessary. So you have a conclusion already and you want to work from an answer. Now, we can't have a situation like that. Once you want to say that who sent the people, you're already assuming that the people were sent. Why? What about if they were not sent? How does that term of reference become relevant? So it's clear that it's working from an answer. But it is a script. The script is to decimate the opposition. The script is to destroy the MDC. The script is to make sure that there is no MDC. In fact, what they wanted was to then even have people who would testify to say, we have pistols who were given by the MDC, we shot at people. Can you imagine somebody having the audacity to tell people that when they came into town, people had already died? Huh? And that person is the one who is telling you that Chamisa has a case to answer. Why? Because he's scared of Chamisa, or has been sent by his master to say, go and deal with Chamisa. Yeah. Now, tell you what, you can arrest Chamisa. That's not arresting the problem. This nation is deeply divided. In fact, there would be no need for a commission of inquiry if there was no crisis in this country. It tells you that there's a crisis. We have a deep-seated division in this country, which cannot be resolved by this kind of tomfoolery tactics being undertaken by our colleagues. They need to sit down, calm down, engage each other. ED must stop going around the whole country talking about international re-engagement. What international re-engagement are you talking about if you cannot re-engage nationally? You can't even talk to your brother Chamisa, who wants to give you ideas and wisdom by osmosis. You don't want to respect him. You don't want to respect him and just to say, let's come together and resolve the issues affecting the people. What is that? Yes, my brother.
Yeah, in reference to arrest which you mentioned, during his testimony, Commissioner Matanga mentioned that you will be arrested anytime. What's your response to that?
My brother, I'm already under arrest. By being an alternative in this country, it's called a crime or it's criminal. So the fact that I have just stood up to lead people, my offense is not that I've done anything wrong. It's just because I challenged somebody. And I'm insisting that the truth has to be said. And they are not happy with that because they want to thrive in conditions and circumstances of darkness. But I'm not moved. Let them do what they want. There is always going to be the day for the man who is committed to change in this country. In fact, ED is very lucky that he is a patriot and a Democrat across the aisle. He must consider himself very lucky. We've taken our time to pursue democracy and not violence. We've taken our time to pursue circumstances of engagement and not divisive and vindictive politics. And that must be honored. Why? Because we believe that our nation is far more important than any of us in our individual sectoral considerations. And that's what we have said. So I'm not moved by anything, my brother, that, an arrest is nothing. Our forefather, our founding president, was arrested many times on false and spurious charges. Even Jesus Christ, my role model, was persecuted on many occasions for no apparent reason. Somebody just wakes up to say, Chamisa is incited. What have I done? Is it a crime? Is it inciting people to be a candidate in a presidential election? Is it inciting people for me to be an alternative in a country? Is that an incitement? It only happens in banana republics and rogue regimes. And I hope we are not in this situation for a long time. Thank you. Last.
Love you from 263. Mr. Chamisa.
Yeah, well done. 263, I like your stuff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You have some very refreshing perspective. Yeah.
All right, fine. I was about to say, you have on a number of occasions dismissed this commission, but in your view, how was the nation supposed to deal with the August 1 shootings? What was supposed to be done from an opposition point of view?
I think the Secretary General said it. The first thing we have to restore in this country is integrity and the truth. There are people who have the audacity to come and lie under oath and then pretend as if everyone else is not seeing. And what they are seeing, they want everyone to believe what they are seeing. That's bizarre. So integrity is key. Why is it key? The first respondent, the second respondent, the last respondent in this matter is the head of state. Because you can't tell me that there are people who are supposedly holding guns in a country and you don't do anything about it. It's normal business. MDC has a military wing. They are training people at Avesa, and it's normal. You have a terrorist organization in a country. You engage that terrorist organization in parliament. You go to an election with a terrorist organization. Is that normal? But it tells you one thing. Lies a very short legs. Mr. Mnangagwa is the head of state. Whether declared, undeclared, elected or unelected, that's another thing. But he is there. He must be able to account for everything that happens in a country. A commission of inquiry is not necessary. We need a commission of inquiry for other things, like Itai Zama. Those are the commissions of inquiry we would want, and having Interpol also come in. Not this one. This one is a straightforward matter. And the key question is, who instructed people to shoot at people? Who deployed the soldiers? Those are the key questions. In terms of those who demonstrated, the police were there when people were demonstrating. They must arrest whoever was there because they were with the people who were demonstrating. They must not even look at it. So and so incited. How do you incite a person? In fact, how would I incite people on the 31st when I was waiting for elections elsewhere to hear the election? Because I was really, and I was sure that they would declare the proper result, and I was ready to go to State House. So how does a person who is ready to go to State House find time to incite people and mobilize people to go and burn cars of a country that you want to run? Why would I do that? This is actually, you are talking about an election that has not been declared. And why would I even react? Because I don't know the election that will be announced. It was very stupid even for people who demonstrated. To demonstrate for the results to be released. It was stupid. Because they then opened themselves for attacks and for manipulation. I think whoever demonstrated, they have their right, but I feel that it was not called for. And that's my view. I'm not insulting them, but I have a right. Just like any other. Because it was premature, it was strategic, and open to be manipulated by the enemies of the people and the enemies of peace, the merchants of violence, the archbishops of violence. Thank you very much. May God bless you. Japa, you are not a journalist, man. Go and train at the journalist school, then we can bring you here. This is a very important profession. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you.